tourism and the marine development project, which will be talked about. So your contribution, I'm sure, can take different forms. You don't have to be as radical as I was, packing my bags about 8 years ago and moving to Ghana with nothing and starting a business. That is radical. There are many risks that is associated with that. Perhaps you can take a page out of the medical doctors, some of whom come home every year, perform surgeries and other medical services to give back. So what can you contribute? There is a clarion call from the President to all diasporans, including myself, former diasporan, to give back. Especially if you're like me and you accessed government scholarship to get your education. Then you cannot just sit back and observe, but we need you as a participant to change the course and direction of our country for the better. Thank you so much for your attention, and I hope that you heed the President's call, and I wish you all well.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mpari. We're now going to link up via Skype to have Dr. Thomas Mensah, who's a pioneer in fiber optic technology, do a presentation on scientific innovation from patent to commercial production. While we are doing the link, I just want to announce the workshops again. So right after his presentation, we'll have a workshop here on entry into the oil and gas sector. It's happening here. And then when you go out to the left, there are two meetings. So Committee Hall 1 is where you have the practical application of DENI. If you remember from the session before lunch, Mr. Suminin spoke about DENI. And then there's also a technical capacity building for entrepreneurs workshop out to the left in Committee Hall 2. And then out to the right is Diaspora Investor Experience in Meeting Room 2. And we'll also be having the One District, One Factory session outside towards the right during the networking time. Okay, I think I can probably now link through to Dr. Thomas Mensah. Can you hear me, sir? Dr. Mensah, is he wearing his earpiece? Are we through to Dr. Mensah? Sound? Okay, I guess he's getting ready. We have tickets for Wagbajeke, the productions, 50 CDs, they're going around. You can buy it, and the production is around 4:30 today. Let me now see if I can get through to Dr. Mensah. Dr. Mensah, good afternoon. This is Kafui at the Ghana Diaspora Homecoming Summit. Can you hear me?
Where would we be without our smartphones? Some might be happier, but most of us probably couldn't even count how many times we use them to send pictures and video. And as we celebrate Black History Month, Don Baker joins us with a one-on-one interview with one of the engineers who's responsible for revolutionizing the internet.
Well, Dr. Thomas Mensah worked along with three other men, names you should know: Bob Moore, Don Keck, and Peter Schultz, to invent a laser fiber optic system back in the 1980s. They had no idea how it would change our way of life.
Without these four guys, the internet won't work, because we invented a laser-based fiber optic system that allows anybody to send a picture to somebody else's cell phone. Without that invention, you cannot send a tweet, you cannot send an Instagram pictures, no Facebook. So we let Facebook, Google, and all those things happen. Because before we did it, everything was using copper. You would stand in front of an ATM machine for about 8 hours. But now you go in and get things quickly because of the invention of fiber optics.
During that time, how did you even think of this?
Well, I had come out of MIT as a chemical engineer, and I was hired to solve a problem because they couldn't take the invention out of the laboratory. And within 6 months, I've solved the problem and made it feasible so that fiber optics could be cheap and it could replace copper wires throughout America. Yeah.
Did you ever think we would live in a society now where we would all be walking around with computers and sharing this information?
No, it never dawned upon us. Because right now, in your pocket, you have a computer that is more powerful than the computer that designed the Apollo rocket. So you can get all the information in the world on this computer. But the only way you can send anything, send a cell phone to somebody else's cell phone, is through the fiber optic system we created.
Well, it is important for all of us to thank those engineers for that laser fiber optic system. And to learn more about Dr. Thomas Mensah, look for this story on WTOC.com. And coming up tomorrow on The News at 5, we're heading to the Low Country for a look at some of the historic sites that make up the new National Reconstruction Era Monument.
Okay, so after that really interesting video, we can now go speak with the man himself. Dr. Mensah, good afternoon. This is Kafui, live from the Ghana Homecoming Summit at the Accra International Conference Center. Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. So we are looking forward to hearing you give your presentation. We are ready right now. So shoot, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am Dr. Thomas Mensah, and I'm speaking to you from Georgia Institute of Technology. At the moment, first of all, I should have been there, but that meant I should have stopped all night to make it up there at 8 o'clock this morning. So the travel plans was messed up. That's what I'm doing this video conference. There are three major themes I want to focus on. One is high-speed rail development, and that is a very, very important for Ghana, because right now there are only two countries with high-speed trains in Africa: Ethiopia and Morocco. And we want Ghana to be the next high-speed train country in sub-Saharan Africa. And we believe this is important because with the $19 billion loan from China, we can then work with the Chinese to develop the next high-speed train in Ghana. And this will be very important because it will bridge the infrastructure gap that's in Ghana at the moment, that is preventing foreign investment in Ghana. This is how Ghana looks now. But this is how we want Ghana to look. In other words, we have high-speed trains from Accra, Tema area through Kumasi, all the way to Tamale, and also from Takoradi to Kumasi, all the way to Tamale. Can you see it? You're not seeing it. Not seeing it. Well, this map of Ghana would show this high-speed train lines from Tema, Accra to Kumasi to Tamale, and then one from Takoradi to Kumasi to Tamale. Now, this is very critical because with the Chinese at the table, we can bridge the infrastructure gap in Ghana that would therefore invite major investors to Ghana. Now, with this high-speed train, it means we would have development along the high-speed train line from the south to the north. That means we can have factories installed all the route, and we can have development along the high-speed train line. In other words, I can see goods and people moving very quickly from the south to the north. That means we can have and meet our goal of one district, one factory very quickly. We may even have 3 or 4 factories in the districts along the high-speed train line. I proposed this also to President Obama when he got into office. And he got on CNN and announced that America will deploy high-speed trains. And California is building this high-speed train. This means if Ghana does this, we would be one of the top countries in the entire world with high-speed trains. That includes Germany, France, with a train at Grand Vitesse TGV, Japan, with a Shinkansen bullet train, and so forth. I've worked with Alstom, which is developing the TGV in France, as well as developing Italy's high-speed train. So Ghana will be up there among the nations of developers. So all our universities, scientists, they'll be part of this 21st century innovation in Ghana. One of the things that I want to emphasize is that we can put fiber optic cable along the high-speed train line, and at some junctions connect the fiber optic to different villages in Ghana. So I can see a young girl, 2-year-old girl, using the internet and a tablet to study just like an American child, 2 years old. And we will be in the 21st century. This is important because besides developing the bauxite and the aluminum smelter in Chebi region, we can have this high-speed train to move all products from the north to the south, and we can bring agricultural goods in refrigerated trucks on a high-speed train and send it all over Ghana. This is very, very critical for us. This will be game-changing for Ghana's development. All the engineers, scientists, and children will be part of this technology. Let me move quickly and talk about another major development that we want to see in Ghana. Basically, we are moving to look to put an international airport in the middle of the country. This shows you a slide of 7 gates, whereby this airport, people will come on the high-speed train to Kumasi from the north and the south, and fly to Amsterdam, fly to any part of the world. But all planes in the West Africa will fly to Kumasi so that they can be maintained, they can be refueled, instead of flying to America or South Africa or Ethiopia for maintenance. So basically, this shows you we have state-of-the-art airports in the middle of the country with the best security systems, and everybody would have sustainable development in Africa because we cut down on the emissions, and this will meet His Excellency Nana Danko vision of sustainable development. This will put Ghana ahead of all the countries, and Ghana will be among the developed countries. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to work with His Excellency Nana Danko Addo to make sure that this is developed. So all the MPs, Member of Parliament, Nana and the Vice President, Dr. Bawumwa, and their grandchildren will sit on the high-speed train when it is initiated. These trains will travel 200 miles per hour, and you can actually sit and work on your laptop inside this high-speed train from Accra all the way to Tamale. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mensah. And I hope he's still on the line to take questions if anybody wants to ask him a question. Mr. Mpari, Clifford Mpari, is also here, the Executive Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Frontline Capital Advisors, our sponsor for today's presentation. The questions will center around an investor experience and then innovation and technology as you just saw it. So if there are any questions, the microphone, yes, let's just take the microphone. Instead of lining up like that, let's just take the microphone to you. Where's the microphone? There should be 2 or 3 microphones. Yes, take it to him and let him ask his question. Your name and who you'd like to answer the question. Please put it on.
Kojo Fraser Hazel, just a question about Dr. Mensah's talk. I mean, they sound quite interesting, but they don't seem to be in line with the government's proposals for rail transport. I mean, and also the airport's supposed to be apparently based in Tema, and so rather than Kumasi. As for rail transport, I've been advised that the best transport is actually, or the most profitable transport is actually freight, not passengers. And the most needy passenger line we've got is really Takoradi to Kumasi, because there's no direct road from Takoradi to Kumasi. So to restore that line would actually, I think, be most local sense for Takoradi to Kumasi rather than even Accra, Tema. And that was the main point.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Any more questions? Just raise your hand. We'll bring the microphone to you. Yeah, please pass the microphone to him. You have a microphone? Yes. Yeah, hello? There comes the mic. The mic is there. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is for Mr. Mpari.
Okay.
So I've been writing research on the Ghana alternative market.
I'm trying to find you. Where are you? All right.
On the Ghana alternative market, and I would like to hear you just speak a little bit about from where you're sitting as, you know, in the pensions space, what you see as the potential for using the GACs.
Okay, so there's an alternative market question for Mr. Mpari. Where is the microphone? We have one here in the front. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. My question goes to Dr.
Mr. Mpari.
Mr. Mpari.
Clifford Mpari, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes it's very difficult to penetrate the Ghanaian market, especially when you come from outside the country with an idea. You see, he was talking about how to get investors into your idea, but in Ghana it's very difficult. So I want him to be more elaborate on that, because they will ask you for a bunch of collaterals and what have you. So I want him to be clear on that.
Okay, so 2 questions for Mr. Mpari. I think I will go back to Dr. Mensah and pose the question you posed about whether the plans are in line with the government's initiatives. Is that correct? Okay, so Dr. Mensah, can you hear me? This is Kafui here in Accra.
Yeah.
So let me pose the question to you. So the question was, one of the questioners was not too sure whether the plan you have, say, for the rail network is in sync with what the government has. Yes, can you hear me?
The first airport cannot be in Tema.
Okay, why not?
Because our advisors from NASA are telling us that the sea water there will corrode all the engines once they have been maintained. So that's why we are put it in the middle of the country, far away from the seawater.
Right. I do remember there was a plan to have an airport in Pram Pram. Is that Pram Pram too close to the sea as well?
Yeah, that's also close to the sea.
It's too close to the sea.
The wind brings the sea, and so can you imagine you maintain an engine on a 747 wide-body train, having to start all over because it's been corroded by the monster in the air coming out of the sea. That's why we put it in the middle of the country.
Okay, second question. All right, I think we've got the point on.
NASA, and I have been discussing.
Okay, we believe NASA. Now, the trains. He's talking about trains. The question was whether it would be prudent to have a passenger system going from the south all the way to the north, when he felt that it would be more prudent to have a freight system instead of this fancy high-speed train where you could do your work on your laptop moving from. No, there's just the idea of having a passenger train from the south to the north, when probably Takoradi to Kumasi would have been more feasible because there's no direct link between Takoradi and Kumasi. What are your thoughts on that?
What did you say? Was there what?
The question was on the rail network. And the questioner wanted to know whether it would be more feasible to have a link between Takoradi and Kumasi for a passenger rail system, since there isn't.
Well, it can be done in phases. It can be done in phases. If that's what the phase one can be Accra, Tema, Pram, phase 3, Kumasi to the north, and phase 2 can connect that because you used to have that line, so the people on the Capital and Cape Coast and the harbor also can enjoy the same thing.
And I think finally from the same.
I don't know if I heard the question correctly.
Okay, and from the same question, I think he wanted to know whether the plans that you have are in sync with the government plans. Government plans, are they in sync?
What did you say?
He wanted to know whether the system was in sync. The plan that you have, the great rail plan you have, is it in sync with what the government is doing?
Well, I sent my plans to the government. The first person I sent these plans to is the Vice President and Nana Danko Akufo-Addo himself, the President. So they have this. And this is in line because if we are thinking about one person, one distance, these plans will bring those persons faster than any other plan they are thinking about. Because now with the Chinese can give us this technology quickly, and we can develop the country and have an infrastructure. So the effort of trying to attract foreign investment and companies like Dow Chemical, DuPont, Boeing, Microsoft, and the rest, they can attack them faster.
Right.
When they see this infrastructure be done.
Okay, Dr. Mensah, thank you very much for your insights. I'm going to ask Mr. Mpari to answer those two questions. Alternative market, and there was a second one as well, which I'm sure you remember.
Okay, thank you very much for those two questions. Let me just quickly talk about the alternative exchange, which was established as a second market to the main stock exchange that we have. Unfortunately, the market has not taken off because a lot of the smaller companies or the SMEs have been reluctant to get listed for reasons that is best known to them, but I think it's a question of cost. And secondly, over the last several years, maybe the last 3 years, and I mentioned that in my address, because of the difficulty of the microfinance environment, it is very difficult to see very profitable SMEs, and so they have not seen it necessary to be listed on the GHS exchange. Again, we hope that the SMEs, through the stimulus package that is now being contemplated and will be implemented by the Ministry of Trade and Industry, those morbid SMEs will now be revived. And once they are revived, I think they may seek other sources of financing, and when they do, the GHS would certainly be an alternative that they could use. And I hope that answers your question. Yes, exactly. The second question is related to the ease of investing in Ghana. I think the questioner made mention of the fact that collateral is requested. I am not sure how that relates to investment. Collateral is usually requested if you are actually taking a loan or something to that effect. But in terms of investing, they may ask you some questions. Typically, nowadays, there is what we call KYC, that is knowing what the client's basic financial issues are, knowing your client, KYC. And most institutions want to make sure that there's not money laundering or any other issues that the client may be coming off with. So the fund that we have created, which is the First Ghana Microfinance Fund, and don't let that name fool you. It's Microfinance and Non-Bank Financial Fund. It is a fund that has taken us literally 3 years to put together because of the documentation. I was a hedge fund manager in the US, so I understand what it takes to dot your I's and cross your T's in terms of documentation, in terms of making sure that clients who put their money into fund are being treated fairly, and the risks associated with it is also being looked at. So essentially we have 3 lawyers working on this fund. One in New York, so for those who are from America, a New York lawyer went through the documents to make sure that it complies with all the various regulations. One in the Cayman Islands. So we have a Cayman Island lawyer or attorney who also went through the docs, and then a Ghanaian lawyer who also went through the docs. And so we have all the docs finalized, and of course, if you're going to invest, you also have to produce a subscription agreement, and that's where the KYC would come in. We think we have an absolutely wonderful product. It is a dollar-denominated product. So if you wanted a dollar-denominated product in Ghana today, you have to buy the Eurobond, right? The Eurobond yields about 6.5%. This product has the potential of yielding 15%. We've done all the modeling to justify the expected rate of return on the product. And we can assure you that it is real. So again, if you want to invest in Ghana, because the microfinance fund and the fund's objective is to invest in Ghana. So if we raise $50 million today, it all comes back to Ghana. Invest in the various companies that do either microfinance or non-bank financial institutions, and you get the return associated with it. So it's dollar-based. You get 15%. Where else are you going to be able to get that kind of return? If you want a local return, you can get 25%. Remember that interest rates have fallen dramatically in the last 6 months because of the wonderful job the finance minister is doing. It has declined, but in that particular space, it hasn't declined tremendously. So we think we can still access those high interest rates, and we have made provisions to ensure that your money is protected. So I don't see any reason why any one of you would not want to put money in this fund. We have the experience. As I said, I worked out of a US company where I was managing a lot of money to come to Ghana to set up Frontline Capital Advisors. And we have made do on the resources that we have and created an absolutely wonderful company with huge assets based on the pensions reforms. So I think if you want to invest in the first Ghana microfinance funds, we are open for business. Our booth is out there. They will answer any of the questions that you have on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have anybody from lights on the stage right now? Thank you. We have our workshops that are happening in a very short while, and then there will be a presentation on the Marine Drive investment project from the Ministry of Tourism, Creative Arts and Culture right after the workshops. I'll take a round of 3 questions. If there's somebody who hasn't asked a question before, since yesterday, I'd love. No more questions? Well let me take 3 questions. Somebody who hasn't spoken yet. Microphone.
Hello?
Can I have a microphone go there, please? Yes, no, but go ahead. Ask your question.
Good. My question is to actually, well, let me introduce myself. I'm a non-diasporan. My name is Atu Williams. I've lived in Ghana and worked in Ghana for over 40 years. My classmate happens to be Mr. Daddy, Yofi, in Paris. So I'm here. But I'm asking this question because of all the interactions I've had. It's more of a strategy issue. Mine is not technical, but it goes to Clifford, Mr. Ewa, and then Alex yourself. We've had a very interesting discussion, and before lunch was quite bubbly and effervescent in this room. It is very clear that the resource in the diaspora is immense and immeasurable, and we need to integrate it into our system here in Ghana. And for we, the diaspora, non-diasporans, the residents, I want to ask a very simple question. Is there a strategy in place or has been thought of to integrate us as well, make us receptive? Because clearly we have very different ways of approaching things. It is clear that our system has warts and all, but we agree that there's a lot of opportunity here. Out there, you have imbibed fantastic work ethic, you have wealth, you have good ethics, you have things you want to incorporate here. Is there a strategy to ensure that we integrate properly to the benefit of this country? I understand that the president has put an office right under his nose, the presidency, but that is one side of the story. That is diaspora to director to president. What is the plan to ensure that the Ghanaian on this side, in order to fulfill this vision, will accept what is coming in wholeheartedly, so that we don't end up thinking that somebody is whining or not whining and all of that? That's my question.
Hello.
Thank you. I know this is, I saw this coming because I think you gave a clue to it this last time we did a press lunch, wasn't it? Where we've also excluded, you thought we had excluded some sections of it. Anyway, I have already mentioned in one of the workshops that we had yesterday that there is a document that is actually the Diaspora Engagement Policy. And this document is at the draft stage as we speak. But because it is of the opinion of some of us in government that this document is not completed yet and that the consultation hadn't been extensive, it is going to be worked on to make it, a complete document. And when that document is completed, it becomes the driving strategy, the tool, the policy that will bind the relationships that the diaspora relationship will have with other government agencies to enable us to drive things forward. And this will relate to already existing institutions, which are already catering for people like you who are not diasporians, but who are, obviously interested in the diasporian cause. So this document, as we speak, has been worked on by various people, and I've also been getting contributions from people in the diaspora, already coming to the Diaspora Relations Office, suggesting how we could, take things forward long term. So all these are going to be synthesized and, fed into this Diaspora Engagement Policy document, which becomes a binding tool, an agreement between government agencies and all aspects of government.
Thank you, Mr. Mavio.
Yes. Thank you so much. Yeah. My question goes to Dr. Thomas.
This is the last question. We are flat out of time.
Yeah, my question goes to Dr. Thomas. Okay.
Has the microphone come to you, madam? Has the microphone come to you?
Okay. My question goes to Dr. Thomas.
The microphone is coming to you. We've got the microphone for you, madam.
Hello. My question goes to Dr. Thomas on his excellent framework that he puts there. How is it integrated in the National Spatial Development Framework? The other issue is with respect to the airport, what's the strategic positioning of the airport within the country? Because if we look at, we have done some work around the strategic positioning in terms of cargo freight by air into the Sahelian region and then the Gulf region. And the best place to promote cargo freight by air is within the Tamale International Airport. And it's something that government have worked on before. So how is that related to that project that which was partially done in the previous government?
Thank you. Dr. Thomas is off the line, but we will send the question to him and he'll get your response. Madam, has she got her microphone?
Yes, I have.
Go ahead.
Kafui, my question is actually for Dr. Mensah. I'm sorry that he's off the phone. How come NASA, which is an American institution, is telling the Ghanaian people what they can do and cannot do? Are we getting money from them? If so, I will understand that. Now, my other question is, as for telling us NASA says it cannot be done, it's unacceptable to me, and I'm sure to a lot of people. The reason being that if you've been to Rio de Janeiro, you land right on the sea. If you've been to Copenhagen, you're 2 steps away from the sea. If you've been to Venice to the English-speaking people, you land right on the sea. Amsterdam, you land right on the sea. I'm sorry, as a Ghanaian, an American, a Danish citizen, here is my thinking. We need, if you want us to bring our money, our resources, and our brains to you, we would like for you to give us better explanations and not just shove things down our throats by telling us it cannot be done. Why? Because him telling us it cannot be done, excuse my French, but that is BS. Looking at all these other countries with airports right on the sea. I would have been happy if you would not have to interpret what I said to him. I would have liked for him to listen to me and answer me directly. I think as Ghanaians, we are tired of our politicians, our leaders, telling us it cannot be done just because we say so. Please give us a better explanation. We have Rio de Janeiro, we have Copenhagen, we've got Venice in Italy, we've got Amsterdam, we've got Copenhagen. They all have airports on the sea right on it. So please explain to me why it cannot be done. Thank you.
I wish I were Dr. Thomas Mensah, but I'm not. And if we should get back to him, we'll put that question to him, I assure you, and you'll get your answer. Thank you. We're done.
Moderator.
We're done. My boss is going to kill me.
I was going to answer.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Hello,
One of my
hi.
bosses has spoken, so
sorry to kind of
no problem, no problem.
try and do something despite what you've just said. My dear lady and delegate, please, we admire your enthusiasm and your definite concern about whatever happens in Ghana in the future. But what we want to say, at this stage, as a representative of the government, I'm just telling you, this is just one individual with his business plan suggesting to the government what can be done. You can also come up with your brilliant idea. You can be looking for your financiers. What he's saying in respect of what NASA is saying is not something that, NASA says we cannot do by ourselves. You should take that in that spirit and realize that it is a suggestion to the government. The government is not compelled in any way to say once somebody quoting NASA, etc., is saying this, it is binding on government. No, please. So have your peace.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And on that note, I'd like to say thank you for your attention. I know you're not going to like me, but hey, that's the work. MC gets all the hate. Organizers get all the love. No problem. I want to say thanks to Mr. Clifford Mpari, our sponsor for this session, for your thoughts, sir. I'm sure you can link up with him later to discuss whatever you want to discuss about what he spoke with. So thank you very much, Mr. Mpari. We're going through the workshops right now. There are 4 workshops. If you're interested in oil and gas, stay right here. Don't go anywhere. If you're interested in the practical application of Denny, it's Committee Hall 1, which is outside to the left. Also on the left, Committee Hall 2 for technical capacity building for entrepreneurs. And then on the right, you have Diaspora Investor Experience Meeting Room 2. Also on the right, 1 district, 1 factory. Mr. Kwame Prempeh is at the top of the stairs. If you came from the Netherlands, please see Mr. Kwame Prempeh right now. There will be a plenary session tomorrow towards the end where you can voice out everything that you want to say before we wrap up. The Vice President is here tomorrow also after lunch. Please return here at 4:30 for the Marine Drive presentation, and then we'll go into Wagbe Jeke, which is the play. The Wagbe Jeke tickets are available for sale at 50 CDs, and you can get them on the left side when you step out of the hall. Thank you.
Calling me, what the Ghana's calling us to come back home.
On the left. So another announcement for the workshops. The entry into oil and gas sector step by step is right here in this room. The workshop for the practical application of DENI. DENI is the Direct Expatriate Nationals Investment. That is in Committee Hall 1. When you step out of this hall, on your left. Also on the left, when you step out, technical capacity building for entrepreneurs. And then you have on the right, diaspora investor experience and one district, one factory when you step out on the right. I hope that is clear. Thank you.
East Airport International School opened its doors to children in September 2002. So the school is in its 15th year.
So if you came from the Netherlands, you need to see Mr. Chairman Prempe, who is at the top of the steps towards the exit.
Don't worry, the
Chairman Prempe is waiting for those who came from the Netherlands. I wish I could say this in Dutch.
You can ask him his questions. 3 more questions, starting from the lady in the middle.
Pedant.
Yes. Brief questions. Please put the microphone on.
Yes, and
there were 3 questions?
Yeah.
Okay. I think he kind of made it composite. I don't know.
Okay. I'll get to that.
He'll get there. He'll get there. Don't worry.
Okay. My name is Elizabeth Sarkodie Mensah, named Ne Elizabeth Opon from USA. Since this morning, we've heard, and even before that, we've heard about the contributions by Ghanaians in the diaspora in terms of funds and remittances, like $4 billion, which I think is the sum coming through formal channels, because there are informal channels where people send money without records. My question now is, what about money or funds going out of the country? Do we have anything? What are we doing to safeguard the resources we have? Because no matter how much we bring in and no matter how much we make as a country, if it goes out of the country without any surveillance, that's a lot of money out of the basket.
Thank you for that question. I'll take one from this side to the right. What's your question, please? Name, brief question.
My name is Dr. Michael Wafu from the University of Manitoba, Central Canada. I also wear another hat. I'm a media person. I edit the largest community newspaper in Canada called the Ghanaian News. We've heard from the President and from the Minister that the challenges that you're facing as you manage the economy is corruption, revenue generation, and leakages. For us, and also from my position as a media person, what I see the greatest challenge, which affects all of us from the diaspora, is at the ports. There is so much corruption, so much leakage, and so much impediments that are put in the way of people trying to import things into the country, bringing in equipment, and so on and so forth. So adopting a dual or three-pronged approach, or whatever you might call it, how do you ensure that the leakages, the deep-seated leakages and corruption at the ports are plugged, and in the long run be able to generate enough money for the economy?
Thank you. So plugging the holes at the port. Last question from this side. Yes, your name, brief question, please.
Hello, my name is Erna Terefe Casa. I too am a diaspora from America, and I came here as a 34-year teacher. I went to the Ministry of Education, volunteered my service, and never heard a word. So what I'd like to know is when or how can you make some awareness of those of us who are coming so that we can do things to help the country. That is my aim, to come in and do whatever I can to help. I didn't even ask for any pay either. Thank you.
Thank you, too. Thank you for all those questions. The minister will answer the questions, including the one from the first session. He will take his seat, and then we'll hear the other presentations. And during the second Q&A, we can also get your other questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reverend Bekwin, I think I missed your question. I mean, the churches are truly powerful institutions. I mean, when we say we are 70% Christian, and you know, I mean, the churches cover every part of our system. So really, as if we even begin to look at the diaspora fund in terms of distribution, is our need to look at all these traditional groups in the U.S. and their chiefs and the churches as sort of vehicles for contact. So yes, thank you for that. Elizabeth, with regards to the remittances coming in, I think we have a challenge with corruption, and that has been made very, very clear. But there's one institution under us at the ministry, which is called the Financial Intelligence Center, and that, you know, has the mandate and constitutional right to screen and look at things like that. So we are getting very sophisticated. We also have sort of links so in a global network where we can check on such remittances. So that's good. Dr. Journalist from Manitoba, you know, a lot of us do complain about the ports, but we even hear more complaints from you about the ports. So guess what? The president appointed a diasporan to look after the ports. So clearly, I think, you know, it was a sensitivity and awareness to that, and therefore, let's find a means of calling him to do that work. But it is very true. I mean, I think we are in the middle of indicting some 19 people or so, and some 3 or so major freight forwarders on the issue. And that has, even in these 2 months since those investigations started, begun to show a difference in the collections that we are having. So you did put your finger or thumb on it, and we are going for it. We need those revenues. I think the speech that the president gave to the Ghanaians, diasporans in London, he did juxtapose the issue of donor funds of about 1.2 billion cedis towards education, and then one of the corporates in the ports, we have calculated about 1.2 billion worth of tax evasion. So clearly there are resources here which we can, and I think this vigilance will help it. To the issue of going to the Ministry of Education to offer your services and not getting a response, I think, you know, it is sad because we are losing talent, or we are losing resources because of non-responsiveness. We just have to create that awareness that people are assets and not liabilities. And that, I mean, when we came back, I think my wife, Angela, was going to be the second clinical psychologist in the country. It still took the University of Ghana a year to give her an appointment, and then you wonder why. So there's something in our sociology that we also need to confront. We need to bring people to book, and we need to create that sense of hurry. If you want an ear to listen, please call me. I'll help you and not discourage you. I think the beauty of it is you can see what you can do to change the course of some people's lives. And so somebody not being responsive should not be the reason why you give up, because your purpose is much greater than the person who is blocking you. So I would encourage you to continue, to persevere until you break through, because you are doing it for posterity and for God. Thank you. Are we good? Yes. Okay. And I will have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ken Ofori-Atta, the Honorable Minister of Finance. We're now going to have a presentation by the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, Mr. R. Yofi Grant.
Hello, and good afternoon to all of you. I'll try and speak in my best Ghanaian accent to make sure that you are grounded. But yes, my name is Yofi Grant, and interestingly, Ken and I were partners in business, and his office is next to mine, and yet still it takes me close to 10 visits to see him. So you are lucky. You've had him for 30 minutes. But anyway, I'm sure you all have looked at what has happened to Ghana over the past 7-8 months. And a new government was ushered into office in January this year, inheriting an economy which was not the most desirable, as the minister himself has sort of shown you. Debt to GDP of 73%, reserves depleted, inflation out of control, interest rates very high. So it was very easy to understand why change was necessary and why change came, and significantly so. And the new government decided to chart a new path for Ghana and create a Ghana that we've always wished for, and a desirable Ghana. And so somehow my luck, or I don't know whether to say luck or misfortune, took me to the GIPC as the one who's supposed to go out there and find investments for Ghana. And this is very important because by the time we inherited the economy, there was absolutely no fiscal space at all. What the minister didn't tell you that just 3 items on our expenditure list took away 107% of our revenues. That means that technically government was broke and that they couldn't invest in anything. So we had to take a new strategy to reposition Ghana, first to attract investment, to make it an attractive, a good place to do business, but also to create jobs and jobs and jobs and for wealth. I have a little video which I would like to show to you, which sort of sets the pace of where we think Ghana should be and where it should go. Oh, the video is not of Ken. No, of me. Okay. It's a little video, just a 1-minute video that we called Ghana on the Go. If we could put the lights off so that... Truly, this is a Ghana on the go. And somebody asked me when he saw this video, said, are you sure this is Ghana? Because this is not what I see when I drive around. But indeed, this is a glimpse of what we want the country to be, and even much better than that. So I'll just give you a little bit of the snippets of what we've been doing at GIPC and repositioning Ghana. As it's a thing about Ghana on the go. We think that Ghana must be on the go. And that is why many of you have taken the pains to come here, because you want to invest back into the economy. The interesting thing about the diaspora is that it has capital, both human and physical. It has exposure. It has knowledge of the new world, which it brings home. And I dare say that the transition of this government in the year 2000 and beyond was actually triggered by many people who came back from the diaspora and decided to do things by themselves. And yes, I had the question from the gentleman saying that he doesn't know where the information came from or where to get the information and do all that. The truth of the matter is sometimes you don't even need that information. You just need the can-do attitude, a focus on what you want to do, and just go ahead with it. But just to let you know what we are doing from the government